Greetings, geeks, and welcome to another Wizards Wednesday Rewind. Oh, it's another week, and there are more new comics in the shops. I'm Adam.
And I'm Mike.
All right, here's the thing. So, as you know, we put this out there. We let the geeks vote on what we should be reading each week now. You guys have expensive taste. You guys want us to buy the high priced books so you don't have to. I think that's what's going on here. I see what's going on in your mind. So this week, yeah, we bought some expensive books, and I even passed up. I talked on a previous episode that there was Wolverine #1 coming out, and I was gonna get it. I was like, I'm already spending almost $30 here. Like I'm not used to. I buy dollar books like Mike. I'm going to the back issue, man.
Hey, I'm buying 50-cent Canadians 50-cent books most of the time. So this is, I do buy a lot of new comics, so I'm used to it. But this was an expensive week.
This
And
was.
there's certain books I'm like, I kind of want to get to. So it was really, really hard because I'm still getting Ultimate Spider-Man. So I picked
Uh,
up that.
Good luck. Good luck. All right, well, let's talk about it. The reason they're expensive is they're special events, they are anniversary issues. And the first one we're talking about here was Wolverine 50. And that's what was being voted on for a book that you guys wanted us to talk about. This is the end of this Sabretooth War plot line, which
Should I be holding mine up too? I realized
yeah, let's
I
make sure
never
you got to
did.
prove you bought it. But like, so reading like the recap page in this, and you had mentioned previously, oh, this Sabretooth War thing has been going on for a long time, whatever. And I was just like, oh no, it's another multiverse story. It was just a team of Sabretooths from other universes coming together, and now they're all dead except for Sabretooth Prime, it seems. And I was just like, oh, Marvel, just stop it. Stop it.
Okay, let's talk about how this starts. This starts with Wolverine against Sabretooth's son. Is that again? I knew it had started. I read the first part of the Sabretooth War, and I was so confused that I just didn't bother continuing. I think the X-Men lore, Adam, is really deep. And I feel like this Krakoan age got even deeper. Like it, and I started with House of X and Powers of X. Did you read those two?
Oh, never. I wasn't even close to reading those.
Yeah, you weren't reading anything new at that point. And I love those, but there's so many X titles that I found it expensive for one, two, a bit much to continue, so I didn't continue. And I know there are X fans that have really continued and are really into the lore and like the whole storyline that's gone on since the pandemic, I guess, since before the pandemic. And we're coming to the end of the Krakoan age, is my understanding. But we start this issue, and it's not Sabretooth versus Wolverine, it's Sabretooth's son versus Wolverine, and then immediately dead. He
Yeah.
is dead.
Sabretooth just shoves his claw right through it Graydon Creed. Is that who this is? Is this like the same one who was killed by Mystique or something back in the 90s? Like, and now like I don't resuscitated through, yeah, because he's kind of like a cyborg looking guy. But yeah, he gets killed. Now, the other thing we have to mention too, and you see it on the cover, Wolverine is wearing adamantium armor because he doesn't have his healing factor anymore, I guess, but he still has his claws, but like a little bit of blood trickles out when he pops his claws now because he doesn't have a healing factor. Like that was interesting to me. I was like, I don't know when that happened or why that happened, but I was just like, that's kind of fascinating. He has to fight with swords, and it says it's a sword that can even affect Sabretooth's healing factor. So if he gets slashed, he doesn't heal as quickly. And so, yeah, there was a lot of little bits and pieces there. And then there's a lot of side characters because I guess it seems that Wolverine is leading a version of X Force now. And I'm like, I don't know any of these characters. I don't care about these guys.
But so it's he's returned along with X-Force and Exiles,
Oh,
they said.
yes.
This page is helpful though. Like without, I'm glad Marvel does this. DC does not do it, and I think they should. They should start. I don't know why they're so against it. Um, but yeah, he has the adamantium armor, and he has the Muramasa blade. Do you know what that
I
is?
don't
Is
know. I
it?
was like, does that come from Silver Samurai, maybe? Like, or is it just something, he's very connected to his
Yeah.
Japanese, culture side, the people that he loved and has interacted with there and married and whatever else. So,
Reading this, I felt very intimidated though, because I'm like, I feel like I don't know the history of the X-Men and Wolverine as well as I should. Like, I feel kind of guilty. But then reading the comic, thankfully, it's just a fight.
yeah. I mean, that it's
A
what
big
you
fight.
come for a Wolverine comic. You want a savage brawl, and it's
Yes.
Wolverine and Sabretooth. It's the classic matchup. And yeah, there when they get into it, because on the cover it tells you that this has explicit content. It's a parental advisory, right? Like they want you to know there's going to be some blood, and yeah, there's
I,
dismemberment, there's blood.
I have some feelings about that though. I'm really pissed about this red band thing because you paid like an extra $1 for your red band issue of Blood Hunt 1 and 2.
Yeah.
And I went with the regular edition. This clearly shows we don't need a red band edition. This is just a marketing ploy to spend more money, get both versions, because this is very graphic. That we're just gonna spoil it here.
Yeah.
He chops Sabretooth up into pieces, a la Evil Dead style. Like it's awesome. The like that it's full page spreads
Yeah,
of
yeah, it's
gore.
it's 2 pages, and it's just like it's literally almost like film strips where it's just like, here's this part of the fight, here's this next attack, and it's just like
Yes.
everything, everything, everything. It gets bigger and bigger and bigger until a huge, violent swipe. You're like, whoa.
Yeah, and then there's just a one-page spread of Wolverine standing over the limbs of Sabretooth. Is he dead though? Like I know that do you know about Krakoa and how they've been like resurrecting characters? We're gonna get to the next book, Adam. The next book is Destiny and Mystique, and Destiny was dead, and in the House of X, Powers of X storyline, it was like finding out that the X-Men had the power to resurrect mutants and bring them back from the dead through this character called Gold Balls. Do you know anything? Is this all new to
Gold
you?
balls? What? No.
This character shoots gold balls out of him, and I guess he was a character introduced years ago, but then in House of X, Powers of X, they discovered his gold balls could actually resurrect through the use of, I forget who else, I don't know, maybe Professor X or someone, resurrect characters. So X-Men never truly are dead. And so is Sabretooth really dead? They can bring him back. I think I haven't been following it. Maybe the Gold Balls is dead and they can't bring him back anymore. I don't know, but how permanent is this, do you think?
I mean, yeah, it's kind of the eternal struggle is the battle between Wolverine and Sabretooth, and they bring that up and they mention their history and all that. So I'm sure he will come back in some form. Maybe he will be like a cyborg Sabretooth at some point. Yeah, I don't know. But yeah, so it was satisfying from that point of view where I was just like, yep, this is the finale. I'm not in the middle of a story where they're setting things up or referencing old stuff. It's just like, no, they're gonna get into it. Now it's over. Great. And then, oh, and we should say within the process, Wolverine, his armor gets removed. So he loses his armor. And then, so now he's just in his regular costume and whatever. But then, of course, this is a 50th issue. I do have to say, the last time I bought a Wolverine comic was the original Wolverine 50 with the
Yeah.
die cut slash on the cover. And it's like the secret files, like looking thing.
Wow.
So
Okay.
like that's the last time I bought. So it makes sense that I would buy it again all these years later. But there's a backup story that was really interesting about like it was just like a retrospective of
Yeah.
Wolverine. And I liked that. It was just kind of him reflecting on his life and like I've gone by many names, I've had many experiences, I've had friends, I've had people that have betrayed me, I've had enemies that have become friends, all these different back and forth like overviews. And it's kind of cool to and some of that I'm like, okay, I don't know what happened there where Beast has an eye patch and he's attacking. And Wolverine was that dark Beast, but this one's all blue, so I don't know. Just weird.
Who's the artist on it? Fernandez? I don't know. I love the art in that kind of retelling of his life.
Yeah.
Um, you can see this is Adam, this is him coming out of his gold ball or whatever it is. So
Okay.
that is his resurrection there.
The Wolverine was resurrected as well. Okay.
Yeah. I never understood it though, because how did he get resurrected with the adamantium claws? Maybe I again could have missed something. I am not an expert. I hope X-Men fans do not get angry at us for
Yeah.
knowing.
Well, and the other thing that was surprising to me is so there's a letter at the end from the guy who wrote it, this Ben Percy, who I've not
Yeah.
heard of, but apparently he's Mr. Wolverine. Like for over a
Oh
decade,
my
he's been
God.
writing Wolverine. So he's like the new Larry Hama, basically, is how I see it. He's like, oh, he's their
Yeah.
go-to guy to write a Wolverine story.
But what's interesting is we also get a Larry Hama short story,
Yeah.
which I think is a lot of fun. It kind of there was a moment there where I was like, I'm sure it's been done, but where I was like, oh, this would have been a really cool what's that animated movie? Drawing a blank, where the kid finds the robot. It's super popular.
Oh, the Iron Giant.
Iron Giant, thank you.
Okay.
It felt kind of Iron Giant-y for a moment there, where this guy who works in a store down the street from the X Mansion has a sentinel in his barn, and it's like it would have almost been cool to just follow that guy,
Well,
and he
yeah, it
actually
was interesting because he's picking on Jubilee and all mutants. He's like, "Oh, you guys live in that weird mansion. You do all this weird stuff. If I had my way, I'd get rid of you guys or whatever." But
yeah.
then you realize it just kind of like in X-Men First Class. He's got two different colored eyes. So he's like, "Oh," like when he talks about the Sentinel, he's like, "Oh, it's just not even on." They're like, "That's because it's been charging," and then it attacks, and then it comes after him. And he's like, I'm not a mutant. They're like, hey, buddy, you got a mutation in your eyes. It's like, oh no, like that. So that was kind of funny. But did you notice? I think that backup story is a continuation of that Gail Simone one we wrote. Remember about in the diner? And Jubilee goes and meets that girl
Oh
because
my
she asks,
God, you're
she's like, hey,
right.
is Crystal here? I think is what she says. I'm pretty sure it's connected.
Oh, I didn't even make that connection. You're right. You're totally right. That's so funny.
Yeah, so that
Yeah,
was neat because we really like that little backup story as well. So that was just kind of oh no, it was in the free comic book day. That's what it was.
yeah.
Yeah,
This I have to say, it was kind of neat to pick up. I'm happy I grabbed it, but it's the price tag that really angers me. I'm like angry about the price tag, but otherwise, it was kind of cool. I don't know.
yeah,
It's a neat way to end the series. I think if I had been reading from the beginning, I'd be, kind of happy with it. You?
yeah. I think it worked out. All right, well,
Yeah.
let's get on to our next bit of X-Men here, and that is the wedding special here, the special Pride issue. So this is interesting, because I've been seeing the ads for this and all these Marvel comics we've been buying. They've really been pushing it and promoting it. So I was just like, I might have bought it anyway, just because I was curious. But to look here, so this is a collection basically of stories about people who are, all the people in the X-Men universe getting ready to go to Mystique and Destiny's wedding. So that,
But it's each story is an invite to a character.
yeah, so they actually have the invitation like
Yeah.
mock up on the page to set up, oh, this is the person who's being invited. Now let's see what they're up to.
And
Uh,
we should mention this is a Pride special, so it's one of the Voices Pride specials that they're releasing this month.
Yeah. So now number one, when I saw this, I was kind of like, it's just that's more open now and all those things. I didn't know they were considered a couple, because again, I haven't been reading X-Men comics, but I remember reading old X-Men issues that had Freedom Force in it, where there was Destiny and Mystique and Blob and all these people on the team. And so I was just like, I know who Destiny is, but like she was an old lady. And then I look here and I'm like, and then I was able to read kind of the catch up history that they put in the middle, where they're like, oh, well, she did die. There was a story about that like years and years ago. And then, like you say, she's reborn on Krakoa, and now she's young, and now they're together. But it was saying that they were already married. And then this is kind of like a renewal of those vows, because she's been brought back to life again. So there's a lot going on here. I don't think we need to get into every single segment.
No.
Was there one that jumped out at you the most of the main wedding storylines?
First of all, can I go back a second to what you
Yeah.
said? This publishing journey of them. I actually think this was worth it for that because I remember when she was resurrected and everyone were like, "Oh my god, this is insane!" And I was like, "Who's Destin?" I did not know who she was until a few years ago.
Oh.
So I love this history. I wish it was the first thing in the book because I wish I had read it and then gone into it because it is fascinating. Also, didn't know she was blind, Adam. That was news to me. Like she has no, cane or anything in the comics, so I didn't know. What is her power?
When
Do you
she's a
know?
precognition, so she could
Is
basically
that it?
see the future, essentially, is what's going on. And so she kind of make mention throughout, like little things, oh, well, I could have seen that. I knew this was happening, this and that, you know.
Do you know? Also, her last name is Adler. Is she related to like the Doctor Adler we saw in the animated series? Do you remember when Rogue would be like, Doctor Adler, Doctor
I
Adler?
mean, it could
And
be
it
because
turned
obviously Rogue is connected, and she calls him her mamas, and and
uh,
that's the whole thing is that she's
absolutely.
known about the relationship all these years. Speaking of which, also there's an interview with Chris Claremont where he's like, "Yeah, that was the plan from the beginning. I dropped as many hints as I could over the years for what was allowed with the Comics Code Authority and what you could publish in those days, and now it's just all out on the table. But if you look back, it was pretty clear if you knew what to look for."
Totally. So the thing that stuck out to me the most, going back to your question, I really did like the wraparound story of this one because I'm constantly like, what the hell is going on? These two are villains. Why is everyone okay with these two? I was so confused in that regard. Like Captain America shows up to the wedding. It's like, what is happening here? Why is he there? And then, of course, there's a great little twist. I'm still confused though, like why
Yeah,
they're
yeah,
okay
it,
with
it
that.
didn't sit super well with me because I was just like, all this for that? Like, and I guess it's just like we're being naughty, it's just like, look what we got away with. We fooled you all, sort of. But it's just like,
But Wolverine's story, there's a Wolverine's invite story is interesting because he kind of talks about how complicated of characters they are. And I like that. Like I think humans are complicated, Like the half of your country, votes for what like you guys have a very divisive country.
yeah.
Canada is just it's flowers and love up here. Everyone loves everyone. I kid by the way. But people have complicated lives. And I think that story I thought was really interesting, or at least what he had to say
Yeah,
about them.
specifically also because I assume this is his X-Force group or some offshoot of students that he's teaching. I don't know. But there's like this one guy, he's like green, he's got like lizard powers. It looked like his name was A-hole when I read it. I was like, what's this guy's name? I don't know.
Well, his story is like, what are they gonna buy Mystique?
Yeah.
They buy her a gun and it says Destiny on
I mean, it's
it.
funny, but that character again, a-hole, whatever his name is, like he points out because he's gay. He's like, being gay doesn't make you a hero, doesn't make you special. Like he's like, we should not be celebrating them just because it's a gay wedding. He's like, I'm gay. What's the big deal? And he's like, plus they're criminals. We are just contributing to their next act of terrorism by supporting them. Like, why are we doing this? I thought that was a really interesting take. Like I wasn't
Yeah.
expecting somebody to come out with all of that. Like there was a lot
But
back
but
there.
also, like I have to say, the people buying this comic, I presume aren't signed up with the NRA, right? And they buy her a gun. Like, there's so many weird. This is a very complicated issue when it comes to I don't know. I find it really weird. Like I think it's like, it promotes the LGBTQA plus community. Am I getting every initial there right? While also be like, dealing with very complicated characters who aren't great people.
Yeah, yeah,
It's
it's a really
weird.
interesting take on
Yeah.
the universe of the X-Men and the opinions that exist throughout. I do want to mention one that was just kind of like off on its own. Now, this is kind of the revelation to me as well. Again, because I haven't been reading, obviously, like the mutants in the Marvel universe. It's long been, Stan Lee has touted it is supposed to represent the struggles of minorities, throughout the world, throughout our nation specifically, and that experience of those writers. But nowadays, obviously, there's a lot more out characters. So in
Yeah.
reading it, I'm just like, okay, like these people are a couple, or Iceman's gay. I didn't know, like all these things. I'm just like, this is like a revelation to me, like the what's come out. But a lot of it is just like, yeah, like I was closeted for years, and here I am now, and this is where I'm at. But the story that kind of stood out to me, because it had two characters again that I didn't know were connected, romantically or in any way. We have Betsy Braddock, who's now Captain
Yeah.
Britain, the former Psylocke, and then we have Rachel Summers, the former Phoenix, who's going by Ascani now. I'm sure that's been like for a decade or more, and I just don't know.
Maybe more. Yeah.
But this story was interesting because they are getting pulled into another universe to kind of save the day, a universe that doesn't have a Captain Britain, so they have a Captain Britain 4, right, that are coming together. More multiverse, yes.
I'm Adam. I'm curious that by the fact that that you're bringing this up because it's a whole universe of Captain Britons, and it's like Captain Britain land. I I love me a multiverse of a whole bunch. You know, we got Sabretooth in one issue, and now Captain Britain's in
I know
another.
I can't escape it. I gave it a little bit of a pass only because Excalibur is the first comic I ever bought. And so it had a
Yes.
multiverse cover. It was like, this whole thing going on there. So I guess I could give it a pass when it's Captain Britain involved. But it was interesting to see because like they brought in like this Excalibur villain, who had been there before. I remember her from the covers and things like
She's
that.
so clear. Yeah, I remember her like clear as day getting that issue as a kid with that character on it. I have to admit, I never read the issue, so it was almost like learning about her for the first time. What is her name again?
That's what I was just gonna pull up.
Gatecrasher? Is she
Oh
Gatecrasher?
yeah, Gatecrasher, right.
Yeah,
So basically like Gatecrasher has like this group called TechNet or whatever, like that
yes.
they are like problem makers. Let's put it that way. Troublemakers that are being hired to create a problem, but then, Captain Britain Brigade, whatever they're called, like they get together, they save the day, but then they find out who hired them and they go to visit this character Saturnine again, someone from Excalibur, but I think issues that I didn't read. And so now you have Rachel and Betsy are confronting her, and they're like, "Hey, what are you up to? Why are you doing this?" She's like, "Well, I wasn't invited to the wedding." And they're like, "What?" All because she didn't
It's
get an
so
invitation?
so catty, so catty. And I love it. I love the art in this issue too, like the pounding of the fists. Like I didn't get an invitation.
Yeah. So we should say this one caught our eye in particular because coming up next week, our guest for episode 93 of our main podcast, Wizards, the Podcast Guide to Comics, is Philip Seavey, who is the artist for this. And so we were
Yeah, it's
super excited. We're like,
fantastic.
wow, we get to talk to him. And I'll just little tease, he loved it so much. We had such a good time. He came back for the half episode as well. So you're going to get a whole lot of this artist and hear about his fandom. He loves Wizard. He loves this, I mean, the X-Men universe, and now he gets to draw, these characters and create, fantastic stories. So keep an eye out for that. But this one in particular just kind of stood out to me because, yeah, it was just fun.
Yeah, overall this is a fun issue. Like I don't tend to like these little broken up stories, but I thought this one worked really well how they did it. And I have to say, Adam, the last I think it's from is it from X Factor
Oh
6,
yeah,
Annual
they
6?
reprinted a story. Yeah,
Yeah, and they reprint and it is so good to me.
Peter
Like it's
David wrote it. Yeah,
and it's just about Mystique having to pour out the ashes of destiny. Like the I don't know what is this it's the 90s because it was like X Factor 6, I
yeah, it
guess.
was like
Annual
annual
6,
number
yeah.
6, I think. Yeah.
And uh it just has such a good ending. It's just I don't even want to spoil it. You just need to read it.
Well, and they made a reference to it in one of the other stories.
Stories,
And
yes.
so I was like, "What? Oh, that's an interesting moment. I don't know what's happening in this picture because it was shown from really far away." And then you get to read the full piece, and I was like,
Yeah.
"Oh, that's pretty cool." Yeah, and yeah, just a real heartfelt ending. It was great.
It is. Two criticisms with this issue. Uh, way too expensive, insanely expensive at
$10 is
$9.99.
what I paid. What'd you have to pay in Canada?
I think it would have been 12 something with my discount. Maybe 13 something. I
With
don't
the
know.
discount.
Yeah,
Wow.
all I know is it was insane what I of what I paid, and I bought 4 comics, so I don't know. I just remember handing over $40 and getting we don't have dollar bills here, so I got a handful of change, so I don't know what I came back with. So that's my first criticism. My other criticism is I think they should have reordered it. I think it would have been better with just telling us up front the history of the characters, then doing that amazing Peter David story. I know why they didn't do it that way, but I think it would have been great to start with those personally.
Yeah, I would
Yeah.
agree. But probably the people who are buying it, who are invested, who are
They
excited,
know
they know
everything.
it. Yeah, they got the history down pat. So
Yeah. So if you are like us, go to the back, read the back first, then go back and read it, I say.
that's
So
our
yeah,
recommendation. There you go. Yeah.
totally.
But overall, two very enjoyable reading
Yeah.
experiences. And again, a lot of story. I actually, to your point, like you don't like the little stories. I was starting to realize, so we used to have exchange students that lived with us when I was growing up, and they would have their manga like volumes, like the big like phone book looking things. And they would just have, okay, it's this, a few pages of this story, a few pages of this story. And I'm like, I think I might start liking that format if that is like a regular format somewhere where you get, oh yeah, here's a little bit, a little bit, a little bit. Because yeah, like otherwise you're just gonna like ditch the book entirely. You're like, oh,
Yeah.
the storyline's taking too long. But if you're like, oh, I'm getting a little bit here, and maybe I like this one too, and I kind of this one's growing on me, like you get a lot of choices in that format. So it's not traditionally how North American comics have been done, but maybe that's a new angle, and maybe it's something I'm just not aware of that is being done regularly with anthologies. But
Yeah. All right.
anyway, there we go. So next time around, we are picking cheaper books. That's what's coming around. We're gonna put it up. We're gonna let you guys vote, but we're gonna be definitely books we can afford and books we want to read. just to make sure that our money is going where we want it to go. So, but thank you for voting. Thank you for checking out this video, and we hope you enjoyed our thoughts and reviews. Just stay tuned, stay subscribed here on YouTube, because we have a haul video that's coming up tomorrow after you see this video, which is going to be fun. We got some great stuff. Got a package from a former Wizard staffer. Mike got some awesome stuff at his local comic shop. So we will get into that. You can see that, but also make sure that you're connected with us on social media at Wizards Comics, at Wizards_Comics on Instagram. You can also find us wizardscomics.com, where you can find our back catalog of over 270 episodes, many more to come. We are slowly but fastly approaching issue 100. Who knows how quickly we're going to jump over that gap? 97 to 100 could come before you know it. So make sure you're subscribed on your favorite podcast app. But until next time, keep your books bagged and boarded.